For the record, hell, we are the record. KCAA, the Inland Talk Express.
I want you to do me a favor.
Yeah, sure.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.
You're entering a world of pain. Whole world gone crazy!
Oh, princess, there's someone I'm dying to introduce you to.
Let's get to it.
Because I got nothing to do. The
bass sounds off in that. Is that my production skills?
It ain't mine.
It's got to be mine. You just play what I give you, right?
That's right.
You don't do any re-edits to make me look dumb?
Sometimes I check to make sure the levels are right, but that's about it.
This is Nothing to Do Radio. I am Brian. I'm your host. And today we're going to be chatting about something that is, I don't know, deep in my heart. More like deep in my stomach. We're going to be talking about IBS, Irritable Bowel Syndrome, or nervous stomach as it used to be called before there was a name for it. It was kind of the autism of now, 10 years ago. Autism now there's a whole spectrum. Before it was just that guy's a little off. He's the person in the file room that you don't want to start a conversation with because he will continually bash the restaurant next door because they once forgot to give him a receipt 2 years ago. That was autism. Now we have a little bit, more of a understanding of it. We have different versions of it. Asperger's. Wow, close up on me on the Ustream, on KCAA's Ustream. Nice. You guys want to check that out? You can even go to my website, and we got direct access to a live feed of this wonderful show, nothingtodoradio.com. But yeah, IBS used to just be called nervous stomach. He gets the jitters sometimes. He can't have coffee before he, takes his drive to work. Now we have maybe a little bit more understanding, and even in the second half of the hour, we're going to be talking with one of the world's leading experts on IBS, Dr. Stephen Wangen of the, let me check here so I can get it right, the IBStreatmentcenter.com. He founded it with another physician, and that's all they really focus on is what foods really irritate irritable bowel syndrome and ways to avoid it. And honestly, now they're even saying ways to treat it so that it goes away for good. So we're definitely going to be getting to that. Guys, I know some of you people out there got nervous stomachs, and it's mixed with the dreaded traffic of Southern California, and that's a bad mixture. So if you have your stories, if you have any fun anecdotes or certain times you really had to get off the off-ramp, 888-909-1050. Call in here, KCAA 1050 AM. This is Nothing to Do. I signed my new lease today, Rob, for my apartments.
I do too, actually.
Today you do?
Yeah, I'm supposed to.
Wow. Are you signing the 6 or the 12, or what are you doing?
I'm going to go for the 15. I like where I live.
15, mixing it up.
Plus, it makes it a tad cheaper.
Yeah. I did the 6 month for some. I don't know why I did the 6 month because I just know I'm going to resign again. No one moves at the end of November.
No.
It's in the middle of Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Holiday season.
Yeah. You're not moving out. So it's weird. It's almost like you're playing poker and you call someone's bet, but you just know you're going to have to fold if they bet again on the next turn. So why'd you just waste that money? I know I'm probably going to resign, but we have a new property manager. And I had a fun experience and kind of let my girlfriend know as we were signing really the main difference between men and women. And I'll give you the scenario. Yesterday they called me, this new property manager, and automatically very perky on the phone. But had a weird perkiness where you could tell she was trying to be charming, but was just kind of coming off as way too familiar. Just kind of saying things like, I believe she said, you better get your heinies in here.
Like an old friend?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
And as you get older, I think when you're 20, you probably don't care too much. You're just like, oh, this person's a nice person. Now that I'm in my 30s, it's just like, all right, well, get to know me first before we have that. Plus, not to mention, you're kind of a salesman, and you're trying to get me to resign.
Yeah, I know you're just trying to get the money.
Right.
That's all you want.
But the thing is, she didn't even really kiss my butt too much on the phone about we want you in here. She said, why'd you take so long? This is the last day. You're lagging. You got to get your heinies in here. I repeat, she said heinies in here. But said it with a smile. You could tell she was smiling while she said all this.
All right, yeah.
You just kind of write it off as, all right, well, I did lag. It was my fault. It was the 31st, the 30th, and I needed to get in because my lease was up by June 1st. And so me and my gal went into the leasing center, and automatically I'm ready to say, if I go in there and it's this chubby broad who I normally think it is, I'm going to kind of joke, kind of passive aggressively hit her back with her familiarity of me without knowing me. Barreling down on us is one of those apartment carts, almost hitting us, and someone shouting from the driver's side, "I'm going to hit you if you don't move," with that smile.
Yeah.
That smile-sounding voice.
You need to excuse what I'm doing because I'm smiling at you.
Right. I said that is the voice that I heard on the phone. And there was that glass shield, of course, on the cart, kind of the plastic windshield, so I couldn't really see, and I was about to kind of just give her a look like, all right, can we get this over with? And she gets out, and, of course, she's a very good-looking, attractive woman, and kind of to
look too hard.
To put the multiplier on this, she was a redhead.
Wow.
And that's a rare.
That is very
rare beast.
Yeah.
Redheads normally they're very unattractive, or they're very they're Donnie
It's either or. There's no
Bonaducci
middle ground.
Yeah. There's no. You'll never find a 7 that's a redhead. So I automatically just kind of went, all right, I'll let her pass.
Slide.
My girlfriend's already looking at me like, who's this chick? We've never met her before. Kind of the who's this bitch type of vibe that pretty girls like my girlfriend tend to get with other pretty girls.
All haters.
So we go inside and we sit down, and she's saying, she called us late bloomers. I noticed that the pretty girls who are trying to be charming often have the wrong word in at the wrong time. She called us late bloomers.
See, they've had no training because they've always just had everyone talking to them.
Absolutely, and everyone laughing, by the way, at their attempted jokes.
Yeah.
And she's telling me that she was going to, she's saying, I was just going to go ahead and charge you the month-to-month rate just for, and she's looking for a word, and I'm like, just for the trouble? And she went, no, just to charge you. But with a smile. I was trying to help her out. I was like, you have to say certain words. When you're trying to joke, you have to kind of come across as cutesy and funny, but the entire time now I got a fake smile on my face because it's in a beautiful redhead. When we got home, I kind of just had to tell my girlfriend while she was saying, why didn't you go off on her? I was close to going off on her. I said, she's an attractive woman.
What are you going to do?
It's the same reason guys don't really complain when an attractive woman at the office hits on us. A girl, honestly, I know Chris Rock had a joke that the only reason women complain sexual harassment on their superiors that are men is because they're unattractive. I know he's probably said it a little bit funnier than that, Chris Rock, but I don't even think that's true. I think women, even if it's an attractive guy hitting on them, if they're just not in the mood that day to be hit on, they'll complain. They'll go to HR. A guy will never do that. Even honestly, she doesn't even have to be that attractive in the office. If we're getting attention,
the fact that we're being noticed, that's fine.
Yeah, we'll let it slide. And so, that was a fun little anecdote I wanted to bring in here. The difference between men and women, that's not a hacky thing on radio, right? No one's done that before, the subtle differences.
We're making history here, or you are.
Making history on Nothing to Do Radio. Again, you guys, I'm going to start up the IBS talk, hot talk here on Nothing to Do, 888-909-1050 here on KCAA. NothingToDoRadio.com, by the way. You guys want to go on there. We got our pal talk up right now. If you want to give me some instant feedback, tell me I suck, tell me I suck really bad, or give me critiques, please, Mom, go on NothingToDoRadio.com and give me some feedback. All right, Rob, in the booth, people out there in their cars, I admire the ones that say they have an iron stomach. Not only just when they're talking about when they drink and they can put anything down, but they don't have to follow their drinking scheme to a rhyme, like beer then liquor, never been sicker. They don't even care about that. They can drink or eat whatever they want, and their stomach's going to feel fine. Never rumbles. When they have to use the restroom, they'll use the restroom, but they're never forced to use the restroom.
Right.
They're never stuck on the 91 between Green River and Yorba Linda or Anaheim Hills, and they're stuck between that little pass, the little Gypsum Canyon Green River Pass, where there's 2 miles of no getting off this freeway. They don't know that fear of when your stomach is trembling and you've got to get off the freeway, and you will risk a ticket going on to the side ramp, going onto the shoulder and taking it to the side ramp. I admire you people. Since 7th grade, probably honestly the 3rd day of 7th grade, my IBS started. And it's kind of weird because you think the first day, right? I mean, the first day you're nervous and you got to meet new friends, and it's not like you're going from 5th to 6th grade where you're going to be basically with a lot of your same classmates and a lot of your same familiarity of the school. You're going to junior high. 6th grade to 7th grade is a big jump. You're actually leaving a single classroom. Now you're going to 6 classrooms, 5 or 6 classrooms, and you learn what a homeroom is and all these things you've only heard about on Saved by the Bell. First day it didn't hit me. I think maybe you're focused on trying to know where the bus stop is. You're trying to figure out where your classes are, kind of this new schedule that you've never really had a schedule before. Now you have all these things written down on a piece of paper where you have to be. Maybe you're thinking too much about it to really have the rest of your body take over. The third day, which seems about right, things have calmed down. You don't need to look at the slip as much to know where your second period class is. You're getting familiar. My stomach started hurting for no reason whatsoever, other than I think I had breakfast that morning. And I realized that I shouldn't be this nervous right now. Things are going good. I do have I have a couple friends here. I moved a few times, as I've talked about before. I think I've went to, the last count was 14 different schools throughout my kindergarten to 12th grade, 5 high schools, and you can do the math, the rest. So, yeah, I didn't know too many people, but I was pretty used to meeting new friends and trying to be the class clown and getting people just to like me for me. I also had a problem, though. I never really used the restroom in other places. I never really had to. If I was out at Chili's with the mom and sister and my stomach started hurting, I could tell my stomach what to do. I could tell it, listen, I'm going to go ahead and ignore you for now. Wait till we get home. I'm going to have dessert. I don't care what you say, stomach. I'm going to have this dessert. I'm only 9 years old, but I'm going to have that second cup of coffee. And I'm going to sit here and chat a little bit. And when I get home, we will alleviate this problem. Now it was first period's about to start. I have to find a restroom, but I've never really used public restrooms before, and I don't like the feeling of, while I'm making these new friends in school, now they're going to know me as the I don't know what I can really say to explain. The
musical?
The crap kid. I don't want to be known as that. I don't want to be like, this guy was in school for, this guy was in the restroom for 10 minutes before class. I'm trying to make new friends, and this is now what I'm going to be probably through senior year if this is what I was doing. And what came out with this IBS is I was going to be doing it a lot per day. So what did I do? What's the first thing you do when you're a kid? You go to the nurse. You want your mom to call you because all you want to do is be even in a more familiar place, and that's home. Home, I can use the restroom when I want. I don't have to have no explaining to do. I can sit down on my throne or in my bedroom, play video games until my stomach starts hurting again, and I'll be fine. My mother, though, being a single mother, could not come and pick me up as often as I would have liked. But the nurse was sympathetic. On the day she was there, by the way. I think the nurse in junior highs and even high schools, I think they're there once a week, which is it's like an appearance. I don't really consider that a full-time gig. If you're it's either the nurse or it's the principal secretary helps you. It's like that. Those are the only. Why do we have an RN in the school on Tuesdays? But the nurse happened to be there the first time, and she gave me this slip. She gave me the best slip I've ever gotten in my life. She gave me a slip saying I could use the faculty's restroom. I could go in there when I wanted to and use this when you're seventh grade, a giant bathroom, giant stalls, only one stall in there too. Oh, isn't it the best feeling
like
when
VIP right there? Yeah.
I was a very important pooper. It was improv.
Good job.
FCC can't find me for that. It was improv. I think they can only find you on stuff you wrote beforehand. Public restrooms, is there a better feeling than when you're pulling off to the side of the road, you go into that restroom, and it's open. That's already the best feeling in the world. That feeling, that going for that doorknob and that just not moving, you're trying to jiggle it and it ain't moving, and automatically there's no vacancy. Going into that bathroom and realizing there's just one toilet, I'm not going to have any interruptions. I'm not going to have to hide it and hold it when someone comes in, and then hope that they don't have to go next to me, that they just have to use the urinal, or even if they did have to use it next to me, but they are as nervous as I am about going with other people, and they just wash their hands. Like, yeah, they just came into a public restroom just to wash their hands and leave.
Right.
Really? That's all you did. You came all this way. You stopped off at a Shell gas station in Fontucky, and you just came in to wash your hands. I don't believe it. But God bless you, by the way. Thank you. But yeah, that feeling of going in, that's what I had in the faculty restroom. Just a single throne by myself. There wasn't a stall. There was no need for a stall. The bathroom, the whole room was the stall. I didn't have to worry about being interrupted. And that worked for a little bit. But I was suddenly realizing after the first week or so that I wasn't getting a lot of the classwork I should have been getting. Oh, wow. I was basically, once I was in there, I didn't want to leave there because my nervousness had now left my stomach and went up to my head. And it was kind of a weird thing where my stomach makes my head hurt, makes my head worry about it, my anxiety, and then my anxiety makes my stomach worse. And that problem started where I realized I need to see someone maybe more professionally. And this is 7th grade, so I was, how old are you in 7th grade, Rob? You about 13, 14? 12 maybe? Shoot. Are you not even a teenager
No,
yet?
you're 13, I think.
Are you
yeah.
13?
Yeah, you're 13.
All right. So 13.
12, 13, yeah.
So this happened about 8 years ago when I was 13. Shut up,
yeah.
Rob.
All right.
And ever since then, I've really realized that I don't know if this is a medical problem, if this is an issue where they can just give you a magical pill to make it go away, or if this is a head issue, if I need to go see a shrink and sit down and work out my issues. And from the 2 to 3 visits that I've done through doctors in my teens, they all basically told me it's in your head. If nothing we can really do for you, it's in your head. I go to I'd live with it for a little bit. A year or two would go by, I'd go back, they'd say it's in your head. And I never really realized it because I don't really have stress in my head. I don't really get nervous. I don't get anxious about stuff. I'm just kind of in the moment almost at anything. Even with my emotions, if a tragic thing happens, I just kind of realize you have to deal with this now. I've had people die in my life. I've had, even to drive to their funeral and know that whole event's going to happen. My head is clear. I know exactly what I'm going to do. I've stopped off at Ross across the street from the funeral because I needed a tie in my greatest time of being really sad and everything. I'm able to handle myself well. I'm not stressed out about stuff. But the entire time when I'm in Ross, I'm looking at that dressing room and saying, I don't care if they have a toilet in there. It has a closed door. I'm going to go in there and use it because my stomach is hurting. And I don't know why. I don't know how to explain it. I've been through the circumstances now where you have to, almost like anything, you have to build up a routine of what you can and can't do. I realize I can't have breakfast in the house in the morning. Before I leave, I can't, grab a bagel, toasted or untoasted, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the cream cheese. I don't care if people say dairy's the reason. I don't think it's that. I think it's just that if anything's on my stomach, it automatically, no, we need to be on empty for this. To start this day, you need to be on empty. Can't have coffee. God forbid if I just am messing around and I decide to grab a cup of coffee and then go sit in traffic. It's hell. It's a horrible feeling. It's racing down the freeway. And if anybody has been on the 91 going out to Newport at 5 a.m., even 5 a.m., it's ridiculous. You're in trouble. You might even have to call off work. I've called off work several times. I've gotten off and just pulled off and decided to drive back east and go back home simply because of this stupid stomach. And I've had some fun times, some fun stories with my stomach. I had a time where I did ignore some of those rules that I made for myself. I told myself that you can't eat before you drive. That was one of my main things. Before I get in a car for a long trip, you can't eat. That's probably a trip that I still have to this day. I can't eat. I only live 20 minutes from the station. Can't eat before I leave because I will make 3 stops within that 20 minutes. But we were going out to L.A. with a couple of friends. I got this great voicemail from one of my buddies, Cranberry. That was his name. He was a cool hippie. And we decided to ditch school one day and drive out to Los Angeles. And basically what we were going to do is do what every 18-year-old does, and that's pretend like we can, make fun music. All we need is a guitar, and we can go ahead and improv the lyrics and just have fun. It's all about, again, being in the moment. Maybe smoke a little something and, drink a couple. I think he was drinking cranberry juice, honestly. He stuck to his nickname. See, that's why I didn't want to be known as Crap Boy, because I knew that nickname would stick with me. He drank cranberry juice, and literally, that was why his nickname was Cranberry. It's that simple for teenagers to come up with nicknames.
Very clever.
Yes. Yeah. So we were out in L.A. for all day. It was wonderful. We actually found a rope swing over a stream. I kid you not. We found like a bench where we set up all of our stuff, had the dude playing the guitar, and we're swinging back and forth on a rope swing just over this little stream in the middle of Los Angeles. It was beautiful. Wonderful day. And I started to get a little bit too comfortable, I realized, because as the day was ending, before we were going to get back into the car and drive all the way back out to Corona from Los Angeles, we decided to stop at Carl's Jr. Because my day was so great, because for some reason something I had gave me an intense appetite, I decided to eat a large section of Carl's Jr.'s menu. So we get in the car afterwards, and wrappers are being thrown out, and we're done, and we're driving, and nighttime's starting to fall, and I get that rumble. I get that feeling. I know that this is going to be an issue, and I can't make it to the Inland Empire. And I tell him we got to stop. Buddy, I can't stop. I'm sorry, Brian. We got to get home. I got to have the car back. We really got to stop. And I told him, you don't understand. If we don't stop, there's going to be an issue. Your car being back is not going to be the main problem. Your car being back with something inside is going to be your new issue. So he pulls over like most people do. In not the nicest part of Los Angeles, in my Caucasian mind, I would definitely say it was East Los Angeles. It was the Echo Park area, which I've seen Ma Vida Loca. I've seen a lot of Blood In, Blood Out, all those movies. Echo Park I consider East Los Angeles, and it was dark and it was a little spooky for a bunch of suburban, i.e. 17-year-olds to stop off the off-ramp. But I had to go. I didn't care. See, when you gotta go, you gotta go. And I got out and I ran to a gas station. Automatically before I ran in, he knew why I was there. A white guy in the ghetto, it's either because you need drugs or you have to use the restroom. And he started shaking his head, out of order. Can't use it. Can't even try. And I begged and pleaded, and he said, no service, go. Ran across the street to a restaurant, of course, out of order. I was realizing that time was beginning to tick. The thermometer was dropping before the mercury from that thermometer was going to bust out, and there was going to be a messy problem. I began then running down the streets of East LA looking for something to use as a restroom. To the point of I was going up to doors, knocking on their doors, holding my stomach, begging for someone to let me in and use their restroom. It even came to a point where there was two vatos that looked like they were extras in the movie Colors. Came to the door, and while I was saying, give me $5 for 5 minutes, I was saying, I'll give you $5, 5 minutes in your restroom. They were saying they wouldn't let me in. These two thugs, who I could not even see their eyes because their bandanas were so low, were saying they wouldn't let me in because what if I was a serial killer? Proving that gangsters can even be scared. Gangsters, I think, are scared of white people.
Apparently, well, I'm not. Never mind. I'm not going to touch that.
I'll get into that next episode.
Yeah, I'm not going to get into it.
They were terrified of me. They would not let me in. I don't know if this is maybe a few years after Dahmer, but they were scared of blonde-haired, toe-headed white boys begging to use their restroom. But they wouldn't let me in. But they would have been killed for $30 for 5 minutes, they said. Ironically enough. They said we think you're a serial killer, but if you up your $5 price to $30, we'll let you use your restroom for 5 minutes. I didn't have $30 on me. I'd spent it on Carl's Jr. Damn Carl's Jr. So I had to leave their house and was still running up these streets, even looking in the backyards, peeking my head over backyards, looking if they had dogs, something that I could jump into and have a little bit of privacy, even if it was a little gate of a backyard to use the restroom for. I noticed in L.A., specifically East L.A., not a lot of backyard, not a ton. And even if there are, you're not jumping those fences, or there'll be 3 pit bulls ready to bite you. So this was becoming an issue where it was imminent. I needed to find a way to expel myself without getting completely embarrassed. Was that a little? What's that music? Is that color?
This is supposed to be suspense. I've been looking for suspenseful music the whole time. They're playing some stupid jazz stuff. I'm like, this isn't suspense, but this is as close as I can get.
Bump it up. It's suspenseful. It's building up, people. Ooh, I like it. This makes one of the most tragic events of my life almost hip. I like that.
Okay, go continue.
But the point of this story is it did help me. Speaking of this great music, like at the end of most action scenes, I didn't get the girl. But I did get a newfound love for public restrooms. So I'm running. I can't find a bathroom. I can't find a backyard. I can't find some essays to let me into their frickin' house to use their bathroom for 5 minutes. So as I look, I saw Nature's restroom, an overpass. Oh, more like a homeless restroom.
That doesn't seem like nature.
It's nature. Overpass is nature.
All right.
They're put here by God to do exactly what I needed to do. I knew I had to. I knew that I was already in a dangerous neighborhood. Why not let it get a little bit more dangerous and go under an overpass where homeless people, by the way, no joke, were having sex not 20 feet away from me. I hope they were having sex. God knows what they were doing if they weren't having sex. They were moving a lot under something I could say was a sleeping bag, a newspaper made out of sleeping bags. A bunch of newspapers put together, but they were rocking back and forth, so I hope they did. So I went under this overpass. I knelt down, pulled down my pants, and did my business. I then realized quickly that I was not a complete savage. I still had to, clean myself as good as possible, but I had no paper. So what I did then was remove my shoes, took off those socks. Thank God I wore socks. I was hanging out with the hippies, so sometimes you don't wear those socks, you just wear the Birkenstocks. But I would have used the Birkenstocks. I used my socks, wiped up, and walked back to the car with just my shoes, no socks, long shorts, back when shants were popular, with a huge smile on my face. Got into my friend's car, who was angry at me because he had to tell his parents and call them and say the car was going to be back late because I don't know if he told them what happened with me, but I know later he did tell his family and they laughed it off. So that cured me. What did that cure me of? Not my IBS. I was never again afraid of using a restroom, a public restroom. To this day, if I have to go, I will go anywhere. My first day at this radio station, that was one of the first ways I christened my new contract. So it cured me in a way. It was scary, terrifying, but you know what? Sometimes tragic events can lead to strong recoveries. And now I'm a recovering person who can use the restroom in public places. We're going to be coming back after the break with Dr. Stephen Wangen. He is one of the world's leading experts on IBS. And we're going to be talking with him right after these words. Nothing to Do Radio. If you have any questions, by the way, for the good doctor, 888-909-1050. Talk to you when we come back.
I got nothing to do.
I hope you're enjoying the show, but how'd you like to capitalize on this here fine program? Nothing to Do is currently interested in new advertisers. If you have an online or local business and are interested in increasing your customers, then how about getting some ad time on a popular radio show? Go to nothingtoduradio.com for details on how you can get involved with the show. 30-second commercial spots, live reads, Twitter and Facebook shout-outs, and premium ad space on our website, all for a ridiculously low price. Again, if you're looking to advertise, go to nothingtoduradio.com and let's get started with you supporting a great show and getting people in the door.
Looking for a great place to really get away? A place with pine trees that stretch up to a deep blue sky. A place to just sit and breathe in fresh mountain air. Or a place where you can go
Biking,
Boating,
water sliding,
skiing,
fishing,
hiking,
golfing,
horseback riding,
bowling,
windsurfing,
off-roading,
parasailing,
go-karting,
canoeing,
ziplining,
and more.
Either way, the place for you is Golden Bear Cottages in Big Bear. Golden Bear Cottages features 28 one-of-a-kind cabins with up to 7 bedrooms available. They even have pet-friendly cabins with fenced yards for your furry family friends. Just go to goldenbear.net. Again, goldenbear.net and see for yourself. Golden Bear Cottages in Big Bear. Check them out at goldenbear.net. That's goldenbear.net.
Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company has been serving the greater Inland Empire for over 60 years. For all of your printing needs, from full-color printing to high-speed copying and everything in between, go to Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company. Their staff is committed to your total satisfaction. Great service isn't just lip service at Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company. It's the way they do business year after year. Having trouble finding drafting supplies? Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company still carries a complete selection. Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company is rated high in customer satisfaction by Value Star, an independent rating company. For all of your personal or business printing, call Redlands Blueprint and Commercial Printing Company at 909-792-3478. That's 792-3478, or visit them on New York Street in Redlands off the I-10 and the Crosstown Freeway.
If you've ever dreamed of owning your own pool table at home, visit our friends at Games for Fun, your one-stop store with 8,000 square feet of pool tables to choose from. Games for Fun also has mega game room products all under one roof, beneath their large freeway sign off the 215 freeway and 2nd Street in downtown San Bernardino. Look for Games for Fun on West Rialto Avenue. Games for Fun is online at gamesforfun.com. That's gamesforfun.com. Or call them toll-free at 800-456-GAME, 800-456-GAME. Shop Games for Fun for your pool table and game room gifts. If you missed the KCAA morning show, then you missed this.
If you have to deal with Miss Erin Brinker today, I warn you, as a public service, do it with kid gloves. Because Erin had that look, and when I said, hey, Erin, how you doing? I think she said something like this.
Shut the door.
I just throw it out there as a public service. Again, folks, as a public service, don't mess with Erin or she'll mess with you and say this.
Shut the door.
Hi, I'm Brett Malik. Join Aaron Brinker, Paul Lane, and myself for the KCAA Morning Show, where we don't take any from anybody, and we always have a good time. That's the KCAA Morning Show, weekdays at 9 a.m., exclusively on the station that leaves no listener behind. AM 1050 and KCAAradio.com.
Hey everybody, it's Deuce from Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market. Have you ever noticed that the word change is found in the word challenge? We have, and that's why we have the highest trained and most understanding staff around. They will assist you in picking out the freshest produce, finding the perfect supplement, or figuring out which cereal has the most fiber. Whatever you need to turn your challenges into change. Clark's, changing the way you shop for health day by day.
I got nothing to do. I hope you're enjoying the show, but how'd you like to capitalize on this here fine program? Nothing to Do is currently interested in new advertisers. If you have an online or local business and are interested in increasing your customers, then how about getting some ad time on a popular radio show? Go to nothingtoduradio.com for details on how you can get involved with the show. 30-second commercial spots, live reads, Twitter and Facebook shout-outs, and premium ad space on our website, all for a ridiculously low price. Again, if you're looking to advertise, go to nothingtoduradio.com and let's get started with you supporting a great show and getting people in the door.
Other talk stations use words like savage. Sounds brutal. Hey, it's all good. Your superstation, AM 1050, News Talk KCAA.
You're back. Nothing to Do Radio, KCAA 1050 AM. If you want to go online, check out our website, nothingtoduradio.com. Just got an email from one of our listeners. Of course, right now we are talking about IBS, Irritable Bowel Syndrome, or to the layman, nervous stomach. The email reads, Hi, Brian. I've had IBS since my teens. A fun story, which in no way scarred me for life, happened at my senior prom. Uh-oh. Being a big day, of course, I was nervous. Throughout the evening, I probably used the restroom at the venue 5 times. Coming out of the restroom the 5th time, I noticed my date was dancing with another girl. Too embarrassed, I left the prom, called my mom to pick me up, and went home with, of course, one more stop at a Jack in the Box to use the restroom, all decked out in my prom dress. Love the show, Becca. Wow. That is a little bit of the, that's kind of the sadder part of it, where it seems like a joke. It seems like, well, why don't you just snap out of it and let the butterflies go away? But that it can really affect you. It can affect you in ways like poor Becca here, who I'm positive is a crazy cat lady. On the phone right now, we have an expert on this. Dr. Stephen Wangen is one of the world's leading experts in IBS, food allergy tolerances, and the ecosystem of the digestive tract. Dr. Wangen is the co-founder and medical director of the IBS Treatment Center and the author of 2 popular books, The Irritable Bowel Syndrome Solution and the award-winning Healthier Without Wheat, A New Understanding of Wheat Allergies. IBStreatmentcenter.com is his website. And if you want to get in contact with him and maybe find out a lot of info about not only the treatments, but read a few of his books, because this is a doctor who specializes in this, and I'm guessing it's probably because he had it himself. Dr. Wangen, how are you?
Hello, Brian. Good, thank you.
Good. I'm already guessing right now, because I do work with physicians in my normal 9-to-5 job, that this was probably something that there's a reason that you had an interest in it. Can you tell me a little bit about why you decided to focus your profession on IBS?
Well, you're absolutely right. I had IBS. I was diagnosed with IBS, and like a lot of people, I went to the doctor, and they would say, well, everything checks out okay, run some tests, everything's fine, you're fine, just go live your life. And anybody who's experienced that is like, wait a minute, there's got to be something better than that.
Right.
What is it? They usually blame stress, and you tell people to take fiber, and off they go. And, of course, that was completely unacceptable to me, and I know a lot of people are frustrated with that same situation.
Yeah, and I do remember, and I talked about it a little bit in the first half, I went to about 3 or 4 doctors. I haven't been since my teens, because it was just simply that. It's in your mind. It's mental. basically see a shrink in so many words. And I didn't really want to do the Xanax route at the time. I was already dealing with enough stress. I was a teenager and I had IBS. I didn't know if I really wanted to start counseling, and not to mention, not even know if it was really mental. So what has the progress came where, is it past the point where doctors just basically say it's in your mind, it's not real?
Well, unfortunately, we're not past that point. And that's why I founded the IBS Treatment Center. Because we're still incredibly unique. People still get that exact same kind of treatment from doctors that they've gotten for years and years, that I got and you got, and that lots of people have experienced. And I get to hear that story like the one you read. I get to hear stories like that every day, all day long. And I really feel for these people because they've been through often just years and years and even decades of this problem coming and going and not understanding what it is, and assuming it's all in their head because that's what they were told. And interestingly, it turns out that in most cases it's not at all the issue, that it's all in your head, even though stress can exacerbate the problem. So when you're really nervous and really anxious, that can make it worse, but of course that makes any health issue worse.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, I was also speaking about how you have to create a schedule around your stomach. It's horrible. I can't eat before I leave my house. I definitely can't have coffee if I'm driving. I mean, it's something so normal where me and my girlfriend were carpool, and she'll just be sitting there drinking her commuter cup, and it's something that easy and simple and something so minute is an impossibility. I'll have to stop off at the next off ramp if I even have a sip, or even water. Honestly, even a bottled water. It'll affect my stomach, but in my head, I don't feel any nervousness, being anxious at all. Is it just kind of focusing in your stomach because maybe is it kind of the old adage of you don't let your stress bother you and you don't express your emotions? Does it affect men more than women maybe for that reason, because we don't express our emotions and they're bottled up and put in your stomach?
Actually, the stats suggest that it affects women more than men.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's not, and I think that's just because women tend to be the ones that get counted and that are more expressive of their health issues.
Oh, tell me about it. I mean, yeah.
And so they're the ones that are going to be more willing to talk about it, at least a little more willing, although we're still a long ways from being able to talk about poop and farts and everything.
Right.
I get paid to talk about that all day long. If my 12-year-old could get paid to do that, he'd be making millions.
I pay to talk about it, so.
Yeah. So, what my philosophy is that basically, if something else is making your digestive system weak, and there are lots and lots of different reasons that happens, then stress and anxiety are going to take advantage of that weak area. They're going to manifest higher they're going to go to the weak spot, basically, and make it even worse. So there's almost always, in my experience, other factors that a person's not aware of that are physiological. There's all kinds of different issues that play into this, but that make their digestive tract weak. And it can be food allergies that they're not aware of. It can be bacterial problems that they're not aware of. And then what happens is that, of course, the stress makes it worse. But then, like you said, you'll notice even when you're not stressed, you're like, dang, why can't I do this or that or the other thing?
Right.
And you get all these generic recommendations when you go online and you read books, and they all say, well, don't drink coffee and don't drink alcohol and don't do all these things, chocolate and whatever it is. And a lot of those things probably weren't the real cause of the problem, but they're irritants. Because once your digestive tract's weak and it's inflamed and then it's susceptible to way more susceptible to things like caffeine, for example.
Right. We're talking with Dr. Stephen Wangen from the IBS Treatment Center. Go to ibstreatmentcenter.com if you want to find out a little bit more about that and the great books that he's written. You mentioned a few of the, I guess we call them triggers. People always say to me, and people always joke to me, like, stay away from the dairy. They always confuse it for lactose intolerant I mean, honestly, if it was dairy, which was my problem, my IBS would be 10 times worse because I love my dairy. I do notice alcohol a little bit, maybe the next day, but I honestly think that's just a process of being hungover. And then it just kind of gets lumped in with, my stomach's hurting me again. I had a weird side effect of when I was prescribed hydrocodone a few years ago when for a knee injury, and it did help. But the reason it helped was it constipated me.
Right.
Because you know, codeine and that type of drug tends to constipate you. Where I was literally saying, I will live my life like this, and I for a few months would just regularly take laxatives every day or so to use the restroom because that felt better than dealing with my IBS. But eventually, of course, I had to kick that because you can't really that's not the reason the drug was prescribed.
Sure.
What are some of the triggers that you see? Because I even work with a coworker who has a list of foods that he has to stay away from, salmon being one of them. I know there's certain seafood. So what are some of the common triggers that people could look for to help with their IBS?
Well, before I get that, let me clarify that, you know, even constipation can be part of IBS. And people often think it's always diarrhea. Mm-hmm. But it could be, I mean, it could even be abdominal pain with no other explanation, with no diarrhea or constipation. It could be just gas. It could be bloating. So really it's just this generic label that tells you nothing more than you knew before you went to the doctor's office.
Right.
Said, wow, my bowel irritates me, and they said, hey, look, your bowel irritates you. You have a syndrome, you know, and that was it. That's really all it does for people.
Yeah.
So, go ahead.
I was going to say the way I always explained it to the doctor, because it's something hard to explain. I also mentioned like autism, how now we're starting to learn more about the different spectrums of autism. Before it was really hard to explain, well, this person's just weird. Well, are they mentally retarded? No. They're socially, you know, it was very hard to explain with my stomach. I realized I would always tell doctors it was like when you were younger and you'd be on your way to a Little League game. The right ways that your stomach should have butterflies, you know, the right times, like the girl Becca who sent the email. If it's your day of your prom or the day of your wedding, your stomach's supposed to be nervous. It's anxiety. It's the build up to the event. Going to my basketball games, I would always have those butterflies, and then as soon as my foot hit the court and I was playing, it would go away. That's natural. It's like that, I would tell doctors, except for no reason at all. It's because I'm driving to work at a place that I've worked at for 5 years. There's no reason it should be bothering me, and that's where we usually stop them in the tracks and say, well, it's nothing I can point my finger at, so it has to be mental. But yeah, you were going to talk about some of the different triggers that maybe you see in common with some of the patients that you see at the IBS treatment center.
Well, of course, that's always the big question is what's the trigger, and that's what we're working on is sorting that out with each patient, and it really is truly very different from one person to the next. And after having dealt with thousands of IBS patients, I can tell you, when a person walks into the office, there's no like standard, I'm automatically going to put them on a certain kind of diet, or I'm automatically going to give them probiotics or anything like that, because it really is a detective process to figure out what is it in this patient versus the last patient versus the next one. And that's why these generic diets don't work for most people either, because they work for somebody, but they're not likely to work for the next one.
Results may vary.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes it really tough for the standard medical community, is because nobody's really focused on that. When you go to even your gastroenterologist, they're really not experts in IBS. They're experts in colonoscopies and upper endoscopies. They're good at certain things, but IBS isn't their specialty. It really is a very unique area. So I do certainly, of course, I see some patterns, you know, that a lot of people will have reactions to certain things, but everybody's got a different combination.
Yeah.
But you brought up dairy, and dairy is a very common allergen, and that is, like you said, completely different than a lactose intolerance.
Right.
If you have a dairy allergy, it doesn't matter if you buy lactose-free milk. It's still milk, right? It's still a cow's milk product.
That's a perfect example. I had soy milk this morning, and my stomach has been for some reason today is a bad day. Perfectly coincidental for today's subject. I had my soy milk protein shake today, and it's been bothering me all day for whatever. I think it was actually almond milk. I don't even think it was soy. So, there's something. I always thought it was bacterial with dairy and kind of the way you're explaining it, but that's kind of the confusing part, because coffee you can kind of understand. Yeah, it's a stimulant. It's going to get if it's going to make you awake, it's going to make the rest of your body awake, and it's going to make your stomach more active. And so that kind of makes sense to me. Or even alcohol, anything that really stimulates your muscles in your body, that makes sense with the reaction. But the food, if it has nothing to do with the bacteria of dairy, why in my experience from the people I've spoke with who also has IBS, because I realized too, this runs in my family. My father just had, I know this is a little different than IBS. My father just had a surgery for stage 4 colon cancer a week and a half ago. They got all the cancer out, by the way, so just wanted to tell everyone, thank you. I got some good emails from you guys. Got all the cancer out. It's a miracle. My mother has issues. My sister, since she started her path in the womanhood when she was 10 or 11, started with her IBS. It's like it's a weird thing in my family where we all kind of have this jokey thing where we call it the Gill stomach. Is it known to be hereditary? Do you kind of recognize that with patterns with your patients?
I do see a lot of that, and I think what is hereditary really are the triggers. So if somebody in the family is reacting to a particular food or a group of foods, it's not at all unusual to see other family members, like their children and even grandchildren. You'll see things passed down through the families, and I'll see that on the lab work when we're looking for these reactions to food. I'll see a lot of similarities and overlap. So people often feel like it's fate. They think, oh, it just runs in my family. But it could be that it's the trigger that's running in the family.
Yeah.
You had mentioned, too, about, I see a lot of soy allergies. I see a lot of, believe it or not, almond allergies.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Probably
nuts.
The number one of all the nuts would be the almonds. So that's the trick is, you think, oh, okay, I'm not eating dairy or I'm not doing this, I'm doing something else. And it still turns out to be the wrong food. And then even then, you could have, a lot of people come to me and they say they can't eat almost anything. Everything's a trigger. And you mentioned even water could be a trigger.
Absolutely. Anything in my stomach.
Yeah, and a lot of patients will express that. And I think the reason is that once the digestive tract is so compromised, then it can't digest anything. So people will be, they'll feel like every food is the cause when it's just they've gotten to the point now where it feels that way, but we still got to figure out what the actual causes are so that we can get them healed up, and then they can get back to eating the stuff that really shouldn't be a problem.
Right. Dr. Stephen Wangen on Nothing to Do Radio, ibstreatmentcenter.com if you want to go there and check it out. He also has a book on the topic, specifically the Irritable Bowel Syndrome Solution. You can get that on Amazon or, I'm guessing, of course, through your website. What can we look forward to in the upcoming, hopefully, years for treatment? Because I'm wondering, currently right now, do you tend to prescribe Xanax or kind of anxiety medication to maybe take the edge off, I guess we could say? I could deal with my stomach hurting. I can't deal with it, of course, when I need to use the restroom. I can deal with it. I can deal with stomach pain, not issues where I need to pull off the freeway. Do you tend to currently prescribe anxiety medication?
In all honesty, my job is to try to find the cause and essentially cure patients, and that's what we're able to achieve with most patients. So we're not using those kind of medications. A lot of times what we're doing is getting people off of those kind of medications. And you get again, it's that whole the anxiety, blaming that or the mind body, the connection, the gut-brain connection, and these things that are thrown out there as theories, and they all have some legitimacy, but they're really not sending you in the right direction to really solve the problem. They're more symptoms of the problem rather than the cause of the problem.
Yeah, I was talking about, too, how it's kind of a weird, vicious cycle with me. And my girlfriend, of course, she's been with me for 12 years. She knows my stomach issues more than I do. If we're driving in the car and she's talking with me and for some reason she notices that I'm not conversating as quickly back with her, or maybe a lot of my answers to her are one-word answers, she automatically tells me, "Your stomach's hurting, aren't you? Your stomach's hurting, aren't you?" And she knows right away when I'm having stomach issues because it's taking over me, and she knows even the certain triggers that I do have. If traffic stops on the freeway, if all of a sudden traffic stops, I automatically start pulling into the slow lane so that if I need to get off at a moment's notice, I can. I'm already preparing, where I almost think it has to be maybe not caused completely by mentally, but exasperated by, tenfold, because I start going into panic mode because I know that I do have a stomach issue, and I know that this can now trigger it because I'm nervous. Oh my gosh, I'm stuck. I'm stopped. We go to Disneyland on a busy day, and I'm stuck in those lines, and I know that the bathrooms are going to be packed. I start thinking about all this stuff while I'm packing my sunscreen lotion. It's ridiculous, and I know that people people for a long time, they passed off alcoholics and that whole disease theory that people always said. They just passed it off as, well, that's just a guy who wants to get drunk, and then they generally started to accept it as a disease and not so much as a punchline. I'm kind of seeing that with IBS a little bit more because it's no matter what it is, if something has to become a part of your life, if something has to be, this is something that's going to affect what I want to do, how I want to be happy, most importantly. This is going to affect me having a happy life, my wedding day, my reception, my vacations. We're going to Vegas. I'm making sure that the restroom is stocked full of toilet paper. It really is. It becomes so a part of you that it affects really people like me who tend to be a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I don't know where it started. I don't know if it's something that you are, like you said, hereditary, where maybe you're born with it, or if it's something you just kind of casually get because it's as simple as food allergies. The treatments that you're talking about, is there any physical amount of treatment to what you're doing? I've even talked about people who do yoga. They do certain amounts of yoga and stretching and exercise specifically for their stomach.
Yoga, of course, is probably good for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
That's not something we focus on, but it's certainly not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Most of our work is around really sophisticated food allergy testing, which is not being offered by doctors and not even by allergists. Really don't focus on these kind of food allergies. They focus on asthma and anaphylaxis.
Right.
And if you've got a digestive issue, they wouldn't even consider that an allergy, unfortunately. So we're still a long ways, from the medical system as a whole recognizing these things.
Yeah.
And so we do a lot of that work. We actually have there's a DNA analysis of the stool sample, so we can measure all the bacterial content and microbial content in the gut. So we can tell you exactly what kind of good bacteria you have and how much, what kind of bad guys you have, and it's amazing the stuff that you can see with DNA stool testing, and that's not offered either. At any kind of doctor's visit typically. So there are a lot of things that can be done that aren't being done,
right.
And that's our goal, is just to provide the best care that we possibly can for IBS and try to solve that problem.
Doctor, we're going to be wrapping it up, but I do want to ask you something. Being off one of the most stressful points in my life, dealing with my father who had the stage 4 colon cancer, has there been links with people with progressive stomach issues throughout their entire life? Has there been links to more serious ailments like stomach cancer?
Well, yes and no. IBS doesn't necessarily lead to an increase in any other problems like cancer down the road. However, people who have IBS know it's plenty frustrating and debilitating even. I mean, I've had lots of patients who lost their job just because of their IBS.
You know what? I've actually, no joke, I've had those talks. I've had the write in ink that is one of my ailments because of that excessive breaks where they were thinking I was having that extra smoke break, and there was or another coffee break, and I had to say, well, no, honestly, if I had another coffee break, I would have to have another one of these breaks because coffee triggers it.
Right.
So and like the story we heard from the listener, she lost a date because of it.
Yeah. Well, and to answer your question, though, there is research in some areas, like in gluten intolerance, that shows that there's a much higher incidence of colon cancer in people who are gluten intolerant. So I think basically we're lacking a lot of research. And when that finally comes around, and it's going to take decades before it does, but we're going to see a lot more connections between digestive health and a whole lot of other conditions. And so, it's a good question. I mean, and that's the point that you made about your father having colon cancer is something to really consider, that could be a sign that there was something going on in him and something that we'd like to catch sooner rather than later, in any of his children.
Absolutely. My guest today was Dr. Stephen Wangen. He is one of the founders of IBS Treatment Center. If you guys want to go check out everything about the center, you guys are located in Seattle, right?
We are, but I have some interesting news for your audience.
Please.
It's funny you called to talk today, because we have a big announcement that will be coming up this summer, and we are expanding. And so if people keep their eyes on our website and our newsletter and whatnot, we will be announcing most likely sometime this summer in the next 2-3 months that we'll be in Santa Monica.
Oh, great. Okay, ibstreatmentcenter.com. Please go check it out, guys. Read his book. He sounds like he knows what he's talking about. I really enjoyed talking with you, Dr. Wangen. Thank you so much for calling in to Nothing to Do Radio. Doctor, you have yourself a great weekend.
Thanks, you too, Brian.
All right, everyone out there, talk to you later.
You're on board KCAA's Inland Talk Express. KCAA, Loma Linda, 1050 AM, the station that leaves no listener behind.